let's pick it up where we left off last week, okay? So, today we're going to be talking about consent. Okay? So, in this week's topic, like the name of this week, do you really know what consent is? Because I feel like a lot of times in the United States, or in Brazil, we end up not really thinking about consent and about what it really is. So, you guys already knew the answer from last week, but what do these three men have in common? What do Ansel Elgort, Justin Bieber, and Cole Sprouse have in common? Feel free to
Uh,
unmute. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and they are accused by a crime.
Yeah. Do you know what crime?
I don't remember the name.
Yeah, so all three of them were accused of sexual assault. So they were all accused of sexually assaulting a woman in this case. So Ansel Elgort was accused, so he was in a relationship and the woman in the relationship accused him of sometimes forcing himself onto her. And he actually came out and he said that it wasn't true, that they were in a consenting relationship. They were two adults in a consenting relationship. Justin Bieber was accused of assaulting a girl in a hotel, like a fan in a hotel, but he showed evidence on Twitter that he didn't, that he was with Selena Gomez and whatnot. And Cole Sprouse was accused of assaulting a girl at NYU, so New York University, where he went to school, but that was also proven to be a lie. But when you see all these famous people being accused of things, you kind of think about the idea of consent. What is abuse and what is just part of a relationship, right? Or part of a relationship. So, what is consent after all? Does anybody know what consent is? Especially, specifically, sexual consent.
It's like
So you can talk.
oh, okay, in like an agreement to participate in sexual activity. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's an agreement to participate. Exactly what you said. It's very important, an agreement, so it's both sides. Okay, now we're gonna talk a little bit more about consent through a video that is a wonderful video. So this video was showed to me when I was in high school, and I think it's the best video ever. Also, just a trigger warning about today. So we are going to be talking about sexual assault, and we are going to be talking about like abuse. Okay, so if anybody feels like this topic might bring up some emotions, feel free to walk away. Okay, don't worry. So let's watch this video. By the way, this video does use profanity. They do say the word fuck, so I'm really hoping, I really trust you guys to be mature, but it's so funny. Let's give it a watch.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making a cup of tea.
Oops, sorry. Okay, let's go from the top.
He said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week. or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Okay, so was this video helpful in understanding consent? Did it help you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Can anybody bring up like the main points about consent that the video talks about? So, when can you give consent?
When someone's awake, obviously, and not drunk or not high or not passed out. If someone is in a situation, the consent is not given, you're not allowed to do anything with this person.
Yeah. What else? What else is important about consent? What are the points that the video brings up?
And it doesn't matter when it happens. If a person say no, you have to deal with it. Doesn't matter if it said yes before, or if you thought you would say yes. If it's no, it's no.
Yeah, exactly.
And also,
yeah, go ahead.
And also, it doesn't matter if it's your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband. If the person says no, or the person doesn't say anything, or is not showing that the person want it, it's not allowed to do anything with her.
Yeah. What else? What else about consent?
I think very interesting in the part that if the person starting to drink the tea and then she or he pass out, you stop drink the tea. Don't make her drink the tea. I think that part is very interesting, very important.
Yeah, exactly. Very important. If they might have wanted tea, but then in the time that it takes to make tea, they don't want tea anymore. What else? Anything else? I mean, you guys basically covered the big points of the video. Don't make someone drink tea if they don't want tea. Don't make somebody have sex if they don't want to have sex. Oh, also very important. If you ask somebody, do you want tea? And they go, I'm not sure, then don't make them tea, okay? Don't make them tea. It's a very important thing that we're going to be talking about right now, actually. So, consent has a clear, enthusiastic yes. So, in the United States, a lot of schools are going by the yes means yes policy. What does that mean? So instead of saying no means no, yes means yes. So consent has to be a clear, enthusiastic yes. What else does consent have to be? So basically repeating the things about the video.
No pressure.
No pressure. Yeah. So that's not actually a point here, but I didn't put that there. I didn't remember that actually, but very important. No pressure. We're going to talk about this later actually, but very good. No pressure. Okay, this is important too. Verbal. So you can't just say, oh, yeah, I mean, I didn't ask her if she wanted to have sex, but I thought she wanted to. She seemed like she wanted to, or he seemed like he wanted to. Consent is verbal. Yes means yes. Lauda said, no substance use. Exactly. You can't consent if you're under the influence. Oops. Why is it repeating? Okay. Anything else about consent? So, G added no pressure. Anything else? Awesome. We're gonna be talking about this like a lot more. So, okay, the age of consent. Does anybody know what the age of consent is? Like what it means?
I think it's when you allow someone to do something with you or something like this.
Yeah. So it's like the age at which you're allowed to consent to sexual activity. So I don't know if that's a thing in Brazil. Do you guys know if Brazil has an age of consent, like a minimal age?
I think it is 18.
18. Yeah. Anybody else has thoughts?
I'm not sure. I think it's more like 16 because I think with 16 we already have the conscience of say yes or not.
Yeah.
Can I talk?
I think that depends on the age of the both people. If someone has 16 or 15 and the other person has like 20 or 22, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think it's not allowed, but I don't think it has an age to consent if someone has the same age as you. I don't know, actually. I've never heard of it.
We're going to talk about it. Victor, were you going to say something?
Yeah, okay. In my opinion, more young is better. But in my class in math in last year, three girls have a son with 13 years.
So they were 13 years old and they engaged in sexual activity?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, so going back to what some of you guys were saying, why is it important to have an age of consent? And you might think it's not important at all. You might think the state shouldn't like tell kids when they're able to consent, or you might be like it is important. So why is it, or why is it not important? So why is it important to have an age of consent?
I think it is important because when you're too young, you don't really know what to expect about something. And if someone wants to do something with you and you sometimes doesn't know how to stop and you just consent, and that for me is a problem because sometimes you just want to make out and the person wants to have sex or do something more with you. So I don't think you have the age to consent something or to stop something.
Yeah. Does anybody think the state shouldn't determine an age that the person can consent and that it should be free for like the person to decide, the kid to decide?
I think it's not at all. But when you have conscious and you are prepared.
Yeah, so when you're conscious about the act of having sex and we're prepared, yeah. My PE teacher, so my physical education teacher, used to tell us that you should have sex when you're ready to face the possible consequences. So I think that really stuck to me, like the possible consequences: getting pregnant, getting an STD, like a sexually transmitted disease. Could be traumatic. So there's like lots of consequences. I'm not sure. I think the measure of the state is there mostly to protect kids legally of what could happen to them. But in the end, just because you can consent at 14 or 15 doesn't mean you should be having sex at 14 or 15 if you're not ready. So in Massachusetts, the age of consent, so Massachusetts is where I went to school. So I went to high school in Massachusetts. The age of consent was 16. And I know that in California, the age of consent is 18. So it varies in the United States. So just a fun fact, I guess. So here we talk about, oh, go ahead, somebody.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
But if the age of consent is like 16, so if you are, for example, 18, if you're having sex with 16 or 17 is not allowed, like it's illegal.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this later, about two people the same age having sex that are under the age of consent. but technically, it is not allowed. It's not technically, it's not allowed. But let's talk about statutory rape. Does anybody know what statutory rape is?
I think it's something related to rape, but with a minor. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's something like.
Go ahead. So we're
Me?
sorry. Yeah, go ahead. So was Victor trying to say something?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. One point. The spectrum of consent. You think that it should be addressed in your media?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Okay. One point. This aspect of consent. You think that it should be addressed in your media?
So what about the media? It should progress in the media? Sorry, could you say?
1 minute.
Okay. So while you while you ask your question, I'm gonna just explain what statutory rape is. So statutory rape is something related to what Laura said. So basically, statutory rape is when an older person has sex with a minor, and the minor like consents. It's not against their volition. It's not against their will, but they can't legally consent. So it's called statutory rape. Even if a minor wants to have sex with somebody who's older, it's still rape, statutory rape under the law. So, yeah. Victor, are you ready to ask your question?
Okay. My question for you is this. The context of consent should be addressed more in media in general, internet, newspaper.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be, so his question is, should consent be addressed more in media? So should the media talk more about consent? Absolutely. Especially in Brazil. In the United States, we talk more about consent. But in Brazil, we don't really. It's more like, yeah, if you want to have sex, you have sex. But it's so important to talk about consent especially because a lot of times consent is associated with really restrictive gender norms. So, for example, only the boy can ask the girl to have sex. Only the boy wants to go fast, and the girl always wants to go slow. So a girl also has to ask a boy, can I do this to you? Like, is this okay? A girl also has to ask a boy. So that's why it's so important, and also because I think consent comes a lot with the consequences of sex, and it comes a lot with sometimes peer pressure. So sometimes you're having sex and you don't even realize that you might not be ready for it. So if somebody asks you, is this okay? You might be, I'm sorry, I can't do this. But if they didn't ask you, you might do something that you didn't know, you didn't even want to do. So great question, and yes, I do think so. So let's move on. Anybody else has thoughts about consent in the media? What do you think, Victor, since you asked the question?
Okay. In the last situation, but when it has that media in a more comprehensive situation, the fact of the woman radicalized because of music, films, series.
Yeah.
The fact in Brazil, the best music is in the country is funk.
Yeah.
When music that talk about in the woman with object way too old and your opinion of your situation.
Yeah, that's very important too. It's all linked together. It's all together. Gender, gender stereotypes. The woman is an object. Do you ask your pen, like, pen, can I write with you today? Is this okay? Like, no, you don't ask your pen anything. So if the woman is an object, you're not going to ask her anything. So that's very important. Our music, our media all portrays women as objects. So very good point. Anybody else has ideas about anything that we talked about so far? Or more questions?
No.
Awesome. So we'll be moving on a little bit. Okay. Oh, so now we get to a point of sentences that people say to excuse their sexual behavior. But he, she, they liked it. Okay? Why is this not consent? Saying that after sex, oh, but she liked it.
I think it's like totally wrong because you can't say what they, she, he it's feeling, right?
Yeah, exactly. How do you know? She could tell you she liked it, but you don't know. Like, if she told you no, so she's like, oh yeah, she said no, but she ended up really liking it. How do you know? She could have liked it, but it was still traumatic. Let's move on. But he, she, they started it. That's a good one. Why can this not be an excuse?
Because I think allow someone to make out with you doesn't mean you're allowing this person to have sex with you or do something more.
Yeah, exactly. Like the video. Just because they said they wanted tea doesn't mean they will want tea at the end. Let's go to the next one. But he, she, they didn't say anything. Why is this a problem?
Can I talk?
Because yeah, go
Let's
ahead.
go.
Or it wasn't Eduarda who was trying to speak?
No, Leticia.
Oh, Leticia, go ahead, and then Victor, can you go after?
Okay,
Yeah, because silence is not consent.
Yeah,
Like there's only one way to know for sure if someone has given their consent. If they tell you, and silence is not consent.
exactly. Silent is not consent. Victor, do you have anything to add?
Okay, just phrases is a perfect human stupidity. I would say 10 skills invented to write skills a bigger problem. Just phrase a little. Just phrases are ridiculous. So this first one big problem. The concept of consent and okay.
Sorry, I couldn't understand. Did you say the concept of what?
Do conceito de estupro, no caso, que você tentaria esconder o conceito de estupro.
Yeah, you would try to hide the concept of rape. Exactly. If all these things, yeah, exactly. If the person doesn't say anything, you shouldn't do anything. Okay, I think there's one more over here. Oh, does anybody know who this man is? Or was?
I think it. Oh, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, John.
I think Netflix has a series about this man and the deployment that the girls who was abused by him.
But he does have a Netflix series. Victor, what were you gonna say?
Okay. He was involved in a sex trafficking together with important people. It's Trump and the Principal of
Yeah, and the
Britain.
Yeah, it was Prince. Oh my God, Prince Andrew. Yeah. So
Yes,
this man is called Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. He was convicted of sexual assault to so many young girls. So many. and he was found dead in prison by apparent suicide, but to this day we don't know if he killed himself or not. Okay, so I'm gonna read this testimonial, this little bio very quickly, and then we're gonna talk about what is wrong with this. Okay. Ransom was 22 and recruited into Epstein's operation in New York in 2006. A woman approached her one night, claiming that an older philanthropist had helped her and might help Ransom, who was then desperate to break into the fashion world. Ransom met Epstein and soon accepted an invitation to vacation on Little St. James, his private island. The abuse was constant. Ransom said she was sexually abused throughout the 6 months she spent there. She tried to escape once but was persuaded to come back. She left Epstein in New York in 2007. Okay, so what would Jeffrey Epstein say to defend himself? What would he say? Think about the sentences we just talked about. She liked it, blah blah blah. So look at accepted an invitation. She came back. What would he say?
He would say that she accepted to go with him to his island, so she was allowing him to have sex with her, which is totally wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
When she used the word abuse, it's not consent at all.
Yeah, it's not consent at all. And then we go back to what Giovanna said in the beginning, who was then desperate to break into the fashion world. So how would you describe it? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Can I send one video for those who have no understanding of the subject?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Can I send one video just explain in situation for
Yeah.
object? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Send it. Thank you. So what can we say about her situation? She was desperate to break into the fashion world. So what was her situation?
That he take it advantage of her because of it, because she wanted to go to this fashion world, and I don't know how to say it, but he took advantage of it and like blackmailed her, not blackmailed, but like I'm gonna make you be famous if you do it with me.
Yeah.
And I think it's something like this. And Eduarda put something in the chat that she came because she wanted to.
Yeah, because that would be like, yeah, she came because she wanted to. Sounds like something you would say. He's a billionaire. He was a billionaire. So Giovanna, were you gonna say something?
Yes, I think he could say for her because he was helping her. He could do anything with her.
Yeah. And the other Giovanna Lisa, were you also gonna say something?
She expected that he was help her to the fashion world, and it doesn't. And he did the against. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, so he did the opposite. Yeah. Victor, are you gonna add something?
Yes, this situation proves something extremely bad. In our society, affect someone, people love for power can rival injustice, and they get away with something disgusting, just like what this guy did.
Yeah. Awesome. So going back to what Giovanna said, this is in the very beginning about pressure, right? So she was in a vulnerable situation. She wanted to go into the fashion world, and there was this man who had all the means, all the resources to get her into the fashion world. So he manipulated her. Also, persuasion. Consent of any kind can't be given under pressure. That is not consenting. So that's just one account. There's so many. Even there were like girls who they recruited other girls. So basically what he would do, he would bring
Right.
Yeah.
Just one thing. The meeting will end in 1 minute.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, once it ends, can you guys rejoin? Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are like girls. Basically, he would bring girls to his house, and the girls